Let's dive into the world of metal. Think spoons, car engines, airplane landing gear. Ever wonder how raw metal becomes these reliable parts? Two ancient, fundamental methods, casting and forging. Today's big question, which makes a stronger part, pouring molten metal into a mold, or heating and hammering it into shape? The answer isn't simple. It's a trade-off between strength, complexity, and cost. To understand why, we'll look at what happens inside the metal at a microscopic level. Let's break down casting and forging, see their strengths and weaknesses, and discover which process truly builds strength. Let's start with casting, the artist's method. Casting is one of humanity's oldest ways to shape metal, and it's as much about patience as it is about precision. Imagine standing in a foundry, surrounded by the roar of furnaces and the glow of molten metal, preparing to create something entirely new from raw elements. You heat metal past its melting point until it's a glowing, almost hypnotic liquid. Then, with steady hands, you pour it into a mold shaped exactly like your final part. This moment is both dramatic and delicate. The flow of metal must be smooth, filling every corner of the mold. The mold itself can be made from sand, ceramic, or even metal. Think of it as a heat-proof baking pan, but instead of cake, you're making engine blocks, sculptures, or intricate machine parts. Each mold is carefully crafted to capture every detail of the design. Casting's superpower, it creates complex shapes with intricate details, even internal passages that would be impossible to carve or machine. This is why casting is the go-to for parts with curves, hollows, or delicate features. Once poured, the metal begins to cool and solidify. This is where the weighting comes in. As it cools, the metal forms tiny crystals called grains, locking the shape in place. The cooling process can take minutes or hours, depending on the size and complexity of the part. After cooling, you break open the mold, sometimes with a hammer or special tools, and reveal your new part. There's a sense of anticipation, almost like unwrapping a present. Some finishing touches may be needed to remove rough edges or extra bits of metal. Casting is perfect for mass production. Once you have a durable mold, you can pour, cool, and repeat the process over and over, producing hundreds or thousands of identical parts with remarkable efficiency. It's efficient and cost-effective for making large batches of complex parts. Factories around the world rely on casting to supply everything from car engines to cookware, all with consistent quality and detail. But there's a catch. As the metal cools, the grains form randomly, and air bubbles or impurities can get trapped inside. These flaws are often invisible from the outside, but they can weaken the part. These imperfections can become weak spots, making the part more likely to crack or fail under stress. That's why critical components often need extra inspection or even reinforcement. So, while casting is great for complexity and volume, it can leave the metal with hidden vulnerabilities. Inspectors use X-rays and other tools to check for these flaws before the parts go into service. That's a key point we'll return to. The beauty of casting is in its ability to create, but there's always a balance between form and function. Casting is about form and detail, but not always about maximum strength. It's a trade-off. What you gain in complexity, you might lose in toughness. Let's see how forging compares and why some parts are made to be even stronger than what casting can offer. Now, let's dive into forging, the blacksmith's age-old method for turning raw metal into something strong and purposeful. Forging is a process that's been around for thousands of years, and it's still used today for some of the toughest parts in the world. Instead of melting the metal down to a liquid, you start with a solid piece and heat it up until it's glowing hot, soft enough to shape, but not so hot that it turns into a puddle. This careful heating is crucial because it makes the metal malleable while keeping its structure intact. Once the metal is at just the right temperature, it's time for the real action. You hammer, press, or squeeze it into the desired shape, using immense force. This can be done with a blacksmith's hammer, or with gigantic industrial presses that can deliver thousands of tons of pressure. There are two main ways to forge: by hand, known as open die forging, where the metal is shaped freely on an anvil, or with massive machines in a process called closed die forging, where the metal is squeezed into a specific mold. But forging isn't just about changing the outside shape, it actually transforms the metal's internal structure, making it much stronger and more reliable. Think of it like kneading dough for bread. When you knead, you're not just shaping the dough, you're aligning the gluten strands, squeezing out air, and making the dough stronger and more elastic. Forging does something similar with metal. The grains inside the metal are pressed and stretched, becoming more organized and tightly packed. The result? The grains become smaller, denser, and aligned with the shape of the part. This creates a continuous, uninterrupted structure that's incredibly tough and resistant to cracks or breaks. That's why forged parts are so strong, dense, and free of internal voids or weak spots. They're built to handle serious stress and strain. Of course, forging isn't perfect. It's a labor-intensive and expensive process, especially for large or complicated parts. And it's not ideal for making super complex shapes with lots of fine details. You're limited by what you can physically squeeze the metal into. The more intricate the design, the harder it is to forge. But what you lose in design freedom, you gain in strength and durability. Forged parts are often chosen for the most demanding jobs, where failure simply isn't an option. That's why you'll find forged components in places where safety and reliability are critical, like in the engines of airplanes, the axles of trucks, or the gears of heavy machinery. When lives depend on the strength of a part, forging is often the go-to process. It's trusted by engineers and manufacturers all over the world. To make all this even clearer, let's use some kitchen analogies. After all, sometimes the best way to understand metalworking is to think about what happens in your own kitchen. Let's head to the kitchen for some analogies. The world of metalwork can seem mysterious, but when we compare it to familiar kitchen processes, it all starts to make sense. Just like in cooking, the way you handle your ingredients, and the steps you follow, can completely change the final result. Casting is like baking a cake. Imagine pouring batter into a pan, then letting it bake. The cake takes on the shape of the pan, just as molten metal fills a mold. It's a process that allows for intricate shapes and details, but there's a catch. The cake, like a cast metal part, often ends up with air bubbles and a texture that's uniform, but not especially strong. The structure is set by the mold, not by working the material itself. That's a cast part, excellent for capturing complex shapes and fine details, but not always the best when you need maximum strength or durability. The inside can be a bit like a sponge cake, light, but not tough. Now, forging is a different story. Think of kneading bread dough by hand. You start with a lump of dough, then fold, press, and stretch it. This process squeezes out air pockets and lines up the gluten strands, making the dough denser and more cohesive. In metalwork, forging means hammering and shaping hot metal, which aligns the internal structure and makes it much stronger. The dough becomes dense and tough, just like forged metal. The result is a loaf that's hardy and resilient, able to withstand more stress, just as forged metal parts are built to handle heavy loads and repeated use. Of course, you can't make a bundt cake by kneading dough alone. You need a mold for that shape. But if you want a structure that's strong and resilient, kneading is the way to go. It's a trade-off. Casting gives you complexity, forging gives you strength. Forged parts are like well-kneaded bread, tough, cohesive, and built to last. They might not have the fanciest shapes, but they're reliable and strong, perfect for tools and parts that need to endure a lot of wear and tear. So, casting gives you detail and complexity, while forging gives you strength and durability. Each method has its own advantages, and the choice depends on what you need for the job. Just like in the kitchen, where you might choose a whisk or a rolling pin depending on the recipe, in metalwork, you pick the process that best suits your needs. Sometimes you want detail, sometimes you want strength, and sometimes you need a bit of both. The kitchen shows us, process changes everything. The same ingredients can yield wildly different results, depending on how you treat them. It's the same with metal. Now, let's zoom in and see what's happening inside the metal itself. The real magic and the real difference between casting and forging happens at a scale we can't see with the naked eye. The real difference is at the microscopic level. The way the grains and structures form inside the metal determines its properties, how strong, tough, or brittle it will be. Let's take a closer look and discover how these processes shape the very heart of metal, one grain at a time. Time to zoom in, weigh in, on metal's grain structure. All metals are made of tiny crystals called grains. In casting, as metal cools, grains form randomly, like a pile of uncooked rice. No order, just a jumble. This randomness creates weak points, grain boundaries and tiny voids where cracks can start. Forging changes everything. Heat and pressure break down large grains into smaller, stronger ones, a process called grain refinement. The grains align with the shape of the part, like a bundle of spaghetti. This alignment makes forged parts incredibly tough and resistant to breaking. No voids, no weak spots, just dense, strong metal. That's why forging produces parts with superior strength, ductility, and fatigue resistance. The secret is in the structure. Now let's talk about when to use each method. So, is forging always better? Not quite. Engineers balance three things: strength, shape complexity, and cost. Forging wins for strength, perfect for parts that can't fail, like connecting rods, but forging can't make super complex shapes, like engine blocks with intricate channels. That's where casting shines. It handles complexity and detail with ease. The choice depends on what the part needs to do: ultimate strength or intricate design. It's all about picking the right tool for the job. Look around. These methods shape our world. Forged parts are found where strength is critical. Wrenches, hammers, car crankshafts, airplane landing gear. These parts endure extreme stress and can't afford to fail. Automotive and aerospace industries rely on forging for critical components. Casting rules where complexity and volume matter: engine blocks, pump housings, turbine casings. Even your cast iron skillet is a product of casting. Simple, but made efficiently in huge numbers. Casting is also used for decorative items and art, where detail is key. Each method serves a purpose: forging for strength, casting for complexity and scale. The world runs on both. From heavy-duty tools to intricate sculptures, these processes shape everything around us. It's not about one being better, it's about using the right process for the right part. That's the real power of engineering. Now, let's talk about cost. In manufacturing, cost often decides everything. Forged parts are stronger, but also more expensive. Massive machines, skilled labor, and tough dies drive up the price. Casting is usually cheaper, especially for large quantities. Once you have a mold, you can make thousands of parts, quickly, and with less waste. That's why engine blocks and frying pans are cast, not forged. Engineers use forging only where strength is absolutely critical, and casting for everything else. Cost, strength, and complexity. Engineers juggle all three to make the best choice. So, forging or casting, which is stronger? Science says forging, hands down. Forged parts have refined, aligned grains and no internal defects, built for maximum strength and reliability. If my life depended on it, I'd trust forged metal, landing gear, crankshafts, anything that can't fail. But casting isn't weak, it's essential for making complex, affordable parts that keep our world running. The real genius is knowing when to use each process. Engineers combine both, casting for complex housings, forging for critical components inside. They're not rivals, they're partners in building the machines we rely on. But when it comes to pure strength, I'll always go with forged.